Hello, everyone. I'm not sure why the lighting makes me look like I'm wearing really bright red lipstick because I'm not, but oh well, it is what it is. Hi, I'm so happy to be with you today. I'm going to share this on my personal Facebook page. I just did a little teaser on Instagram, so hopefully we'll get a good crowd today. We are live on YouTube and we are live on the More Than Lupus Facebook page at the moment. So I'm just going to pull that up and share it on my page. It's going to be an interesting conversation today. Here we go. If you or someone you know has lupus, let's do hashtag lupus, please watch and share. Perfect. Okay, I got that done. Oh, I've got books and Ben Lista here and methotrexate. I've got all sorts of things here. My bag of tricks today. Lots of things going on. Hello, hey, can't wait to see you soon. I'm thinking maybe Monday night. What do you think? Does that work for you? Which that would be the 18th, I think. Let me know. We can talk more privately off camera too, Naomi. I'm going to do a quick banner because I didn't do that yet. It is Native American Heritage Month. Let's talk about lupus. Actually, I'll have to say SLE and indigenous DNA. Indigenous communities. In indigenous communities, I'm talking out loud, don't mind me. I can't spell today either, that's good. By the way, speaking of spelling, I love to write. I've always been very prone to just the literary arts and pull. I love it so much. And so I'm not surprised that my son is also extremely gifted with writing and reading. One thing I'm not that gifted at is spelling. I've always just been kind of a so-so speller. I like to use big words, but don't ask me how to spell those big words because I will just freeze up. And I think some of that may have to do with my brain fog, where I'll just blank out and I'll say a word or I'll hear a word that I want to use. And for the life of me, I'm like, I can't even picture how to spell this word right now. And so maybe that has to do some of that cognitive dysfunction with my illness. But my son is such a gifted speller. He doesn't even have, he does a, he has spelling obviously in school. He's in 5th grade. And his teacher this year, it's pretty cool. They give the students an opportunity to take a pre-test. And if they take the pre-test and they get the words correct first go around, they don't have to do their spelling test that Friday because it counts as passed. This child, he just goes, yep, got it. I mean, these are like complicated words. So I'm just really impressed with his spelling skills because he didn't get them from me. I think Nick, my husband, he's a better speller than I am, but it's such a great skill to have. I mean, he's not spell checking. He's not on our computer. So this is all coming from his ability to see a word and remember how it looks, and it also sounding out his phonics. He has a very advanced vocabulary too. So just really impressed by his spelling skills, which, as I mentioned, did not come from me. Although I'd like to think that some of his writing and creative writing skills came from me because I do really enjoy writing poetry and short stories and blogs and everything. So yeah, anyway, here we go, guys. Let's get to it. Hello, Lupus Facebook Live support chat. Welcome all. As people start to log in, don't forget to share this on your personal Facebook page. It is officially November, which means Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. And happy Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, right? Just kidding. But really, did you know, this is a fun fact for you, did you know that 34% of Americans will put up decorations before Thanksgiving? 34%. And this year, with Thanksgiving being so late in the month, and with me being gone for almost a week, smack dab in the middle of the month, that is going to be me, my friends. Yep. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. It's happening. I'm putting the decor up early. I love Thanksgiving, not for the colonization pilgrim stuff. I like a time to get together with family and friends and reflect on our blessings and be mindful of things we have to be grateful for. Okay, I'll put it to you that way. I'm very mindful and don't want to be tone deaf regarding some of the things that are not so great about how we have culturally appropriated Indigenous culture and done some things that are just not honoring to the Indigenous populations that were here far before we were here on Plymouth Rock. And I don't know if I say we because I'm Indigenous, but anyway. So yes, I enjoy gathering with friends and being mindful of our blessings and being leaning into an attitude of gratefulness. But yes, the decor is going up early this year. All that to say, do you think, though, I want to ask you all that are watching, do you think it's a crime to put up holiday decorations before Thanksgiving? Let me know. Okay. What are your thoughts about this? I'm waiting on a bated breath about what your opinions are about all of this. Some people have got some opinions. So November, as I mentioned, is going to be a busy one. Besides it being Native American Heritage Month, which we'll be talking about later today in this conversation, it is also the month of the largest rheumatology conference, shall I say, in the world, pretty much. It's the American College of Rheumatology Annual Summit that is happening in a couple of weeks in Washington, D.C., and I will be there once again with my fellow patient advocates, with Lupus for Lupus, and Lupus Research Alliance is there, and I always see LADA is there. There's always a lot of great people there. It's awesome. So I'll be there once again with my fellow advocates, soaking up as much new research and data and new treatments in the pipeline, new discoveries, new clinical trial opportunities, new medical devices, all of that as I can to bring back to you. It's a wonderful, completely immersive experience. It's crazy. It is nonstop. It's also an opportunity to connect with other like-minded organizations. It's an opportunity for me to meet industry professionals face-to-face, to enhance health literacy and bring back ways that we can display information to you that may improve your patient resources and access to healthcare and data. So it is a whirlwind, and it's a nonstop, action-packed conference. And if that wasn't enough, I decided, since it was in Washington, D.C., and both my son and my husband have never been to Washington, D.C., that they should come along and see the sights while I am at the conference. And we can make some memories together along the way. So wish me luck. I will be bouncing everywhere with the conference and with my advocacy friends, manning the booth, helping man the booth for Lupus for Lupus, and then doing all the sessions and meetings that I have signed up already for. So I'm going to need all the energy in all the spoons that I can get. So that's coming up in a few weeks. Speaking of husband, let me just make sure everything is a-okay because he okay, sorry. Everything's fine. So let me introduce myself if you are joining for the first time, or maybe you're going to be streaming this a little bit later. My name is Kelly, and I am the creator and executive director of the Portland-based nonprofit More Than Lupus. We've been with you now for what, 7 years, something like that. If you're unfamiliar with who we are, please check out morethanlupus.com. We've got over 100 blogs there for your viewing pleasure. We are an inclusive community designed by lupus patients to connect and grow and inspire you throughout the peaks and the valleys of your lupus journey. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I do this every session to remind myself and hopefully remind you that you are more than a sum of everything that is wrong with you. So as I mentioned, my name is Kelly. I'm out here in Portland. I'm originally from Southern California. I love a good conversation. I love a good book. I love a good podcast. I love deep diving into literature and theology and science. And I love the arts. I love music. I love design. I love theater. I love chocolate. I'm very sad because one of my favorite shows just had its season finale, Only Murders in the Building. I love Steve Martin and Martin Short. It's just such a great, cozy show. Yeah, and I have happened to have lived with systemic lupus erythematosus since the age of 11. I was a pediatric patient, and it hit me pretty hard. And I spent most of my pre-adolescence in Children's Hospital Orange County, Children's Hospital Los Angeles, and UCLA Medical Center as they tried every medication possible to stop the avalanche of lupus symptoms that caused me to go from being a dancer to not being able to walk. And over the last 30 years, I have undergone many surgeries, dozens of hospitalizations, problems with pregnancy, as well as many rounds of intense immunosuppressive therapies. I'm on a nice cocktail right now, as I mentioned. I've got all sorts of fun things here. I've got a nice cocktail of hydroxychloroquine, prednisone, Benlysta, methotrexate, to name a few. And I am your facilitator for today's Facebook Live support chat conversation, community hang time, Q&R, whatever you want to call it. And happy to be with you today. So before I go any further into today's topic, I want to remind you, I'm going to give you a disclaimer, but I also want to tell you, go ahead. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you. Post any comments, any questions, any concerns. After I'm done kind of giving you some information about today's topic, I'll start at the top of the comments and I'll work my way down. So maybe you are trying to find a rheumatologist and you're not quite sure what you should be looking for. Maybe you have a question about a medication. Maybe you are thinking of switching from Benlysta infusions to Benlysta subcutaneous injection. You want to know the pros and cons. Maybe you're considering some alternative therapies and you want to know if anyone out here has done those things. Maybe you're struggling with talking to your family and your friends and your close inner circle about your illness and you're not quite sure how much to share, and should you share with your work? Can you ask for accommodations at your workplace? What about SSDI and filing for disability? All of these questions are things that our community has faced, and a lot of us, even though we're each unique in our lupus journeys, we have a lot of insights and can share resources that hopefully you can take back and have conversations with your medical team, with your family, with your friends, with your work about living your best life with this illness. So here we go. Go ahead, post those there, and I will get to them hopefully after this. So the More Than Lupus Facebook page, Lupus Life Support Chats, are aimed to be a positive and open space where you can both give and receive support and encouragement from others. I am not a doctor. I'm not Kelly MD. Therefore, I cannot give you medical advice or diagnose the symptoms that you are having. What I can do is provide you with information and resources that hopefully you can in turn take back to your doctors and have an open and honest conversation about what is the best course of action for you. Additionally, this group is intended for those living with lupus or a lupus overlap illness. It's also intended to provide support and encouragement to those who know someone living with lupus. A friend, a family member, a coworker, loved one, a neighbor, a partner, significant other. If you do not fall into these two categories, this is not the right chat for you, and any inappropriate material will be deleted. Please keep all comments positive. Sometimes when we stream live, our chat will get shared in a space that isn't appropriate. So you will hear me say those famous words, refresh your page, and I see it, I block it, I delete the comments, and if you refresh your page, it'll be gone. So I encourage you not to engage, but to refresh your page. Remember that motto. Don't engage, refresh your page, because it's not worth your energy. It's not worth your energy to be like, get out of here, it's just not. So I'll see it, I'll get rid of it. Hopefully that won't happen today. A couple updates before we go into today's topic. Our Lupus Lift program is up and in full swing. And if you're unfamiliar with this program, it is a grant through More Than Lupus in partnership with Aurinia Pharmaceuticals that offers free lift rides to those with lupus and those that support people that have lupus to accommodate the many places and spaces one needs transportation to if you have lupus. 1 in 5 adults with limited resources forego healthcare because of transportation barriers. And that is 2.5 times more difficult when systemic lupus is combined with lupus nephritis. So make sure that if you are comfortable with taking a ride share like Lyft, make sure that you reach out to us, because this is a program that is for you. It is not for any particular demographic, except for those that have lupus or are supporting someone with lupus and you need assistance with getting to physical therapy, your infusions, your urinalysis appointment, your lab work, your rheumatology appointment, therapy, massage, acupuncture, all of those things, pre and post surgery, all of those things qualify for this program, and we have those lift credits for you. So don't wait, do it today. We're happy to send you the quick, brief survey. Try to make this as easy breezy as possible. Then we will send you, once you are accepted, we will send you a lift credit that goes directly to your app. And then you use it. You use it when you have to go to and from physical therapy, or maybe you need to get somewhere and you've taken pain medicine, or you've taken something that affects your ability to drive, but you know you got to get somewhere. That's when you take it. You use that. Okay, so please do not hesitate. Also, don't forget to check out our blogs on morethanlupus.com. As I mentioned, we have over 100 blogs there, many that are written by people who join these chats weekly, and 95% of them are written by lupus patients, with a few written by rheumatologists. We've got a new blog that was written by patients that submitted their story to us. We've got a blog on lupus and chronic pain. We've got a blog called Beyond Brave. Yes, that Beyond Brave one, that was my Everest. That took me a very long time to write. So go over there, check them out. There's something for everyone. And I hope you enjoy them. And if you're interested in writing, if you love to write, or you have a story that you really want to share about your journey, please let us know. We are very open to having guest blog writers, and we want to encourage you to share your thoughts and your experiences with us, because we always want to be a place that amplifies the patient voice. Because it's super frustrating to read blogs that are written by people that do not have lupus. Yeah. So anyway, here we go. Off to today's topic. Make sure, everyone, that you share this chat with all your friends and family. Share this on your personal Facebook page. You never know, it just takes that one person who suspects they have lupus or was just diagnosed with lupus and feels like they are just scared and lost. Just takes one person sharing this for them to see it and get connected to a community of support and resources. That's patient focused. There's no other agenda here than to get people connected to community and support. That is it. Hi, Jill. Oh my gosh, I feel like it's been ever since you've been on with us. So happy to see you. Oh my goodness. So it is Native American Heritage Month, and I thought I would take a few moments and talk about the connection between this this people's group and lupus, and how often it is overlooked. So many of you know that a good portion of my DNA is indigenous. And so not too long ago, when I was talking about, and I don't know how this conversation got started, but I was talking about indigenous genealogy with Dr. Thomas, who wrote the Lupus Encyclopedia. And he stopped me and he said pretty directly, this was on a Zoom call, that indigenous lupus patients have the highest rates of systemic lupus. They have worse disease outcomes and higher death rates, and are more likely to develop systemic lupus earlier than any other people group. And he said it, and he was very direct about it, like, why aren't we talking about this? Because you hear, as I have said, and how so many other lupus organizations have said, and you see it online and the data that's printed, we always say, usually what? That Black and Hispanic people are the most impacted, people of color, right? So I feel it is important to talk about this and how historic disparities and a lack of access to healthcare and medical injustices still impact this community. And simply with us not knowing that that is the statistic. So I pulled some information today from Lupus Foundation of America, from the NIH, from Creaky Joints, which is the Arthritis Foundation, from Lupus Science and Medicine. And here is a little data for you. You want to take a look at this later. Okay, anything else I'll post here. So Native American patients tend to be diagnosed earlier in life with lupus than do Americans of European descent. And they also have worse rheumatic disease symptoms. And they also tend to have higher autoantibody rates. And that's according to the study that I posted. So, with an autoimmune disease, your immune system attacks healthy tissue by mistake. And usually patients are diagnosed between the ages of 15 and 44, 45, right? Mostly you hear about lupus being very common with African American, Hispanic, and Asian Americans, and that it primarily impacts women. Women are disproportionately impacted 9 times out of 10. And on average, a lot of research has found that Native Americans are diagnosed most often just shy of their 30th birthday. So in their late 20s is when most Native Americans are diagnosed, compared to European Americans who average a diagnosis of after 30. Usually it's somewhere between like 30 and 35. And African Americans and Hispanic rates are usually between 30 and 27 respectively. In one of these studies, researchers found that significantly higher percentages of Native Americans were classified as having lupus by age 20 than were African Americans and European Americans, at similar rates as Hispanic patients. So Hispanic and Native Americans are similar. And one of the reasons is one of the researchers noted that Native American patients can face persistent disparities in healthcare, in part due to high numbers of patients being underinsured and having poor health status, along with other significant barriers to care. Even if patients have access to insurance, patients who live in remote, impoverished areas and on reservations are less likely to receive regular care from specialists. And these obstacles translate into less effective disease management and worse patient outcomes. As I mentioned, they have higher mortality rates and far more long-term poor outcomes. The researchers also found disparities in the ways the different groups were treated, as well as in concurrent or coexisting autoimmune diseases. In this study, the team added that research will be needed to identify potential molecular and genetic markers of lupus that might enable earlier and more specific diagnosis among Native Americans. Sorry, that was a lot of stuff. Also, too, there is historical North America biases and ableistic tendencies towards and historical medical injustices that have been directed towards Indigenous cultures. In fact, Indigenous women, this is something that I wrote about in research in our ableism blog. Indigenous women in North America, particularly in Canada, have been subjected to forced sterilization in public hospitals going back many decades, and even is up to as early as 2018, as recent as 2018, I should say. And this practice appears to be exclusively targeted against Indigenous women who may have children born with birth defects. And so they are forcing, the medical institutions force the Indigenous women to have be sterilized. And dozens of victims have come forward on their own since the late 2000s. But the full scale of this problem and the women, Indigenous women that were impacted by this, is unknown because it has to be a very comprehensive investigation, and there's a lot of shame in that. So it is just incredibly sad and just heartbreaking how many Indigenous cultures have been treated and women have been treated, and that lack of trust in medical institutions because of these historical biases and being medically abused in that type of medical PTSD. Of course, women are not going to feel safe about going to a medical institution if they suspect that they may have lupus. That makes sense to me. There's a lack of trust. There's an absolute historical lack of trust because of what has been done. So many factors, including that type of medical PTSD, historical biases, contribute to high lupus rates among Native Americans and Alaskan Natives. And it can be everything from genetics and antibodies to epigenetics and environmental factors. More Indigenous peoples tend to smoke, and that can impact someone's health dramatically. Also, social, as I mentioned, determinants of health like socioeconomical status, education, community engagement, they all play a significant role as well. And many in the American Indians and Alaskan Native populations experience worse health and worse health care management than other ethnic populations. There's so much research that needs to be done in this field, and scientists are starting to dive into the epidemiology that may play a significant role in the development of lupus disease activity. But there are certain things that we know that can impact one health outcomes for the worst. And that's, as I mentioned, smoking. Currently, the percentage of American Indigenous people and Alaskan Indigenous smoke more than other populations. And it's also a common factor in family members who have lupus as well, that they're around people who smoke. Also, sun exposure. Many Indigenous peoples live in parts of the country where sun exposure is high. And obviously, if you have the genetic predisposition to develop lupus, sometimes being in and having high UVA, UVB exposure can cause that photosensitivity, that inflammation, and can cause your symptoms to come out. Air pollution as well. Those that live near larger cities can be at more risk due to air quality and exposure to toxins, pollutants in the air. Also stress and trauma, living under daily stress and trauma, poverty or abuse or discrimination can increase the risk for chronic illnesses like lupus. And other barriers too for these populations can include location and access to services or barriers to transportation. Many American Indigenous or Alaskan Native Indigenous peoples live in rural communities that are far away from big medical centers and big teaching hospitals and institutions, and regular health care can be spotty to receive at best. And transportation outside of the reservation or the tribal community can be difficult and expensive. And there are some health services like Indian Health Organization, Indian Health Services. They try their best to provide healthcare and case management for those without adequate healthcare coverage and living in these areas, but it's really difficult because these organizations are historically underfunded and can never truly meet the demand of what is out there. So additionally, there is already somewhat of a rheumatologist shortage in North America, with a lot of rheumatologists retiring and aging out. And the American Indigenous and Alaskan Native tribes and indigenous populations, they feel it, particularly when they are not, as I mentioned, usually located close to a big major city. They live in more rural areas. So with this rheumatologist shortage, it impacts those living in these remote areas where accessing, this comprehensive healthcare is already extremely challenging. A rheumatologist is much more likely to spot the symptoms of lupus earlier than a primary care or general practitioner, because, as I mentioned, they're seeing primary care or general practitioner, they're seeing people for all sorts of things, and they have these short visits with them to try and, get through their patient load, whereas a rheumatologist can specifically hone in and potentially diagnose at a much quicker rate. So, primary care practitioner lupus treatment and management is usually what they have, and they're not specialists. So these practitioners can sometimes, they're just doing the best that they can, but they can lack all the tools in their toolbox because they didn't go to school to study lupus. They went to study general medicine. And so there's all these nuances with medications and new symptom management and new diagnostics and things like that, which does not give them the best outcomes. So anyway, this is a lot of information. All this to say that it is so important that we continue to press into advocating for our Indigenous communities. And I just want to say, I'm so sorry. When you know better, you do better. And sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And I feel that over time, I have presented misinformation just naively, and have not spent time to acknowledge the underrepresentation of the indigenous cultures in America and the Alaskan Natives and Native Americans and North American indigenous, and the impact that this illness has had historically, and the injustices, and just the ignoring of this people group that, if we did take time to invest in clinical trials, also invest in more just research funding, that once we understand, we peel back the layers, the most impacted minority community that lives with lupus, guys, it will benefit us all, no matter what your ethnic makeup is, because they can understand the illness of who is most impacted, and they can develop treatments, and they can see and tendencies and do these wonderful things by pouring into this group of people that have been living just completely off the grid. And I mean that in a way that the medical institution has failed them, And it just really, I'm so glad that we have people like Dr. Don Thomas, who it was the one who put me he didn't put me in my place, but he made me go, look, I don't know if you are following this, but they've got the Ross deal, and we don't talk about it that much. And I'm so thankful that he said that. And he brought that to my attention to just completely continue to delve into this and understand that indigenous lupus patients have the highest rates of systemic lupus. They have worse disease outcomes, higher death rates, and are more likely to develop systemic lupus earlier than any other minority group. And why they seem to be always the last that we're talking about, right? Yeah. So I'm sorry. And as I mentioned, you know better, you do better. And my hope is that more research will unravel the mystery of why this is and how we can do better to support this group of people who have been living often without the best access to care, without the means, with a lot of barriers in their way of living their best lives. And just hope that we can continue to press into change to make that better, make it better, make it better, make it better. Okay, so that's what I have today. It's 11:40, jabbering on now for 40 minutes. I want to read to you from my Have a Beautiful, Terrible Day. This is a kind of a meditation, devotional, whatever you want to call it. This is by my favorite, Kate Bowler. Daily meditations for the ups, downs, and in-betweens. I got this at the library. I love going to the library. Have a beautiful, terrible day. She's so cute, isn't she? Okay, so today's meditation for your inspiration portion of our live chat is letting go is painful. Letting go is painful. And she kind of does like a little prompt, and then she does kind of like a poem. So I'll read you both. Who are you? Are you the person you were last year? The one who had that thing happen? Are you somebody's daughter or somebody's mom? These are such layered kinds of questions because they attempt to offer a single, brief answer to a seemingly endless thought. Who am I? Well, probably 256 roles at the moment. But when we are attempting to let go of something painful, it is a question we return to again and again. Who am I now? The poet Maggie Smith has a lovely image for the impossible question that I find useful. She wonders if perhaps we can think of ourselves as a series of nesting dolls. Those wooden matryoshka dolls where each figure is hiding another identical smaller one. Smaller and smaller, they go down to the tiniest, the size of a thumbnail. Think of yourself as a nesting doll. How many versions of yourself have you carried this far, to this point? How many more iterations will there be as you age? Know there is room for all of you. When you need to let go of some pain, perhaps it is a good time to bless all the versions of you. You are not eclipsed. You are not lost. You are here. I think it's easy. Easy is not the right word. I think it's tempting to think that when we have a diagnosis or something really crummy happens, life looks different than it did before, that we think part of ourselves has been lost to never return again. That the pain somehow diminishes you, the diagnosis diminishes you to a lesser version of who you once were. And I think it's important to remind myself, to remind you, to those that are watching this, there's room for all of you. And there are many versions. You are not eclipsed by your illness. You are not lost by your pain. You are here still. You are here still. And this is what she says here. I have tried to persevere, placed between tissue paper, seal into frames, everything precious. I've tried to repair, replace everything broken. I'm cataloging memories with an archivist's eye. I can't talk today. Nothing will chip or stain or be misplaced somewhere or at someone's house and be forgotten altogether. Nothing will slip away. Lord, I couldn't bear to lose any more that's already gone. But thank God the children wiggle out of favorite clothes with each passing year, and there are boxes of grandma's things in the attic. He left, and she's gone, and my closets are stuffed to the ceiling with reminders. We are losing the life we knew. We are gaining a life we didn't imagine. We are picking up and putting down. So let's take the china out of the cupboard, the baseball gloves out of the garage, or whatever tells our story, and tell it. We will not be lost. We will never be lost. I love that. We will never be lost. We live on. Oh, I love that so much. So that's all I have for you today, guys. And reminding you to be kind to all of you and your many parts. As Walt Whitman says, we are large. We are multitudes. And I'm thankful for those few faithful that showed up today. Where's everybody? But I'm so thankful for this group here. Naomi, Carrie, hello, and Jill. And to those that you will be streaming this and watching this later, I just hope you take time to be kind to all your many parts today and know that that inner core of who you are, it is always there, that most precious nesting doll with all the many layers and iterations, always there. You are not lost. You are not an eclipse. All of you matters and all of you is there. So I have another meeting right at the end of this one. So I'm going to pop off a couple minutes early so I can go potty and then come right back here. But I want to remind you that because of me being gone for the rheumatology conference in Washington, D.C., we are pushing back our support group. It's going to be virtual to November 23rd. So November 23rd instead of the 16th, guys, because I will be on an airplane. So the 23rd is going to be our Zoom support group. We're not going to do in person this month, but the following month, the 21st, will be a dual in-person and Zoom holiday party at Tabor Space. Okay, so I want everyone to be there who is in Portland Metro, and I'll see you on Zoom as well for November 23rd, December 21st. Okay, with that being said, guys, I already got a message saying you have to log on in 10 minutes. So I will see you later. Take care. And be kind to yourself today, guys. Okay, bye-bye.